various things in the last, 3 or 4 weeks, I guess. Difficult job. I wasn't able to keep some office work. Um, sort of struggles about the present and sleep and the future that kind of stuff creates. Mm, mm, Lack of energy to do this kind of. Yeah, but I am back for now. Good. Should be something a lot more enjoyable. Working with a little pizza place called by various chefs. It's a training just to be a server. I've got a lot of experience cooking pizza and serving pizza to people in a delivery driver context, although this will be in a restaurant using tables. And yeah, it should be kind of promising, hopefully, to keep some energy level up. And at least I thought it maybe had some effect on my energy level and my clarity of mind. Decided to start having a superfood nutrient meal powder replacement for breakfast and lunch instead of just having chocolate or fasting until dinner. Doing that for a couple of days. It seems like it might be having effect. So if things go well, this will be something I'm able to maintain. Hold on. Push the computer back a little further so I have room for the book. All right. Back to Daniel Quinn's At Woomeroo. Story 3, 4, and 5. It's about 20 pages worth of reading, I think. Might take me again about 45 minutes. See how it goes. Depends how much commentary I do. A strong child. In the hours before an earthquake, it is said, animals become jumpy and confused. That's how it was with my wife and me that morning. She would get up to fetch something and return a few moments later, dazed and empty-handed. I was sitting at the open front door, ready to leave, and wondering where on earth I was going. At length, Jane went or other, sensible or foolish, and I was left to shamble from room to room on my own. I sat here and there, musing vacantly. I stared at shadows playing on the walls. For no reason, it suddenly occurred to me that none of my wanderings had taken me to my study. I got up at once and went there. It's only from ancient habit that I call it my study. For a long time, it's been a dark and dusty room that offers storage to tax records, unwanted furniture, shorted out lamps, and sacks of clothes meant someday to be carted off to Goodwill. I stood there looking around for a moment, but only for a moment. As soon as I saw the old oak sideboard, I went to it with the confidence of a sleepwalker, opened the bottom drawer, and drew forth a fiberboard box big enough for a pair of heavy work boots. I knew what had to be inside and felt a thrilling sense of satisfaction. It feels the same way when he finally tells you to start building a nest. I knew excitement and shining my My wife and I, after all these years, had been delivering a baby girl. Gasping with joy, I scooped her up naked from her box and pressed her to my chest. And oh my, I was astonished by her heaviness, by her muscular density. Carefully cradling her head, I drew her away for an amazed look. This was a little weightlifter here. She was already laughing at my delighted face, already beaming forth love into the world from eyes wide open. Her pudgy little arms and legs were working the air as frantically as if she meant to swat or boot every single electron that passed her way. Take it easy, little one, I told her, but she only laughed at my elderly cautiousness. Suddenly Jane was at my side, and the infant's contortions became so frenziedly hilarious that I barely managed to transfer her to my wife's arms before she took to the air like a bird. What a morning that was. Before long, I was saying to Jane, "We should give the child a rest. Shouldn't the child be given a rest?" And Jane said, "We mustn't let her get too excited." And I said, "She must be exhausted. I would certainly be exhausted if I were her." And Jane said, "Why don't you see if she wants to have a nap?" And I said, "Don't infants ever get tired?" And Jane said, "I thought they did nothing but sleep." By noon, Jane and I were as limp as old dish rags, still radiant enthusiasm and vibrating like a dynamo. She simply would not let herself be put down for a moment, and our slightest gesture in that direction evoked such ecstasies of outrage that we could not bring ourselves to carry it through to completion. Although she would not be put down, she didn't mind if we put ourselves down. We sank into chairs on the veranda and took turns entertaining the child on our laps. She had become noticeably larger and better coordinated. She no longer beat the air with all four limbs like a maddened tap dancer. When she wanted one of our fingers, she simply reached out and took it like a seaman grabbing a hawser, Hawscr. Around 2 o'clock, she climbed down from my lap and, with the delicious fineness of every infant taking its first steps, toddled across to my wife. A mile by nightfall. Right away, it has me thinking about continuing which I've previously mentioned in other streams or in reading of people here, um, and how adults seriously misunderstand the nature of infancy and young child and what they really need for development. I wonder if the next stories will be related, direct sequels. The Gardener's Son. This is a very short one, just a little more than a page. It had been a murky, scowling sort of day, hard voices everywhere, and the nuns were worried, with good reason. Mrs. Phillips asked the gardener, "Are these the slippers you ordered, my dear?" "Let's have a look," that man said, turning his kite over to the care of his small son, who was borne off by it, right over the hill. Well, the boy held on for dear life and was soon swept across the sea, where he met and fell in love with the youngest daughter of the Grand Panjandrum. This occasioned a bitter scandal at court. Half of his trousers had been thoroughly soaked in the course of his journey, and he couldn't doff his cap because he hadn't brought one. On learning of the youngster's plan to open a candy shop, the Panjandrum had him headed. The daughter was shattered with grief, and her cries were so heartrending that even the cows fell ill right where they stood. The militia sealed the borders. Just went on strike and left their newspapers lying in the grass. The Panjandrum was soon forced to reconsider his position. He restored the boy's head, wrote a long letter of apology to Mrs. Phillips and the gardener, and for 2 weeks signed every document presented to him without reading it. One of these was a license that entitled the gardener's son to open a candy shop and to marry the Panjandrum's daughter. The wedding was held on Wednesday, and enemies of the state were given special passes to attend. Even the workhouses were empty. In the years that followed, the gardener's son and the Panjandrum's daughter had several children of their own. One of them achieved some slight fame as a film actor, best known for his portrayal of Frédéric Chopin in a Song to Remember. Perhaps you've heard of him? Cornel Wilde? Not quite sure what to make of that one. Very short story indeed. I'd have to look it up, and I'm not going to right now, but I'm not offhand aware of whether Cornell Wilde is a real or fictitious name. All right, here's the real one. Again, we hit the farm or rural theme. It's called Uncle Ned's Farm. I'm going to Uncle Ned's farm, and when I come back, I'll go to kindergarten. That's what Mom says. Mom says I'll have lots of fun at the farm, but I don't want to go. She says Uncle Ned and the Aunt Sarah, a little girl named Carol, who is 9 years old, and we'll have a fine time together, but I'd rather stay home. I think Mom and Dad are sending me away so they can fight. They fight now, of course, all the time, but they have to hold back when I'm around. I don't know why. Sometimes I come in and they're screaming at each other so hard they look like they're going to explode. Then they see me and quiet down and pretend they weren't doing anything. Sometimes they act like they want to kill each other, like they would just love to be able to put their hands around each other's necks and squeeze and squeeze. Maybe that's why they're sending me away, so they can fight out all the way to the end and go. Aunt Sarah said if I was going to spend the whole summer there, I could do chores like everybody else, but Uncle Ned said I didn't have to do chores, and she said she'd be damned if she was going to wait on me hand and foot, and I said I didn't mind doing chores, but Uncle Ned said I was not to do chores. My cousin Carol said, Jimmy's just a baby. He doesn't even go to school. Do I have to play with him? Aunt Sarah said, you don't have to play with him if you don't want to. Well, I don't want to, Carol said. Then you don't have to, then Aunt Sarah said. Well, I'm glad of that, Carol said. Around the barn, the ground is all mud and smells awful. Uncle Ned says that it's just manure, but I don't know what manure is. There are 3 cows he milks real early in the morning before he goes off to work at the meatpacking plant in town. I don't know why he works in a meatpacking plant if he's a farmer. A big cat lives in the barn. I've never seen a cat like that, black and brown and white, with fur short in some places and long in others. I was chasing it around the barn one morning, trying to catch it, and Uncle Ned said, leave it alone, that's not a pet cat, that's a working cat. I watched it long after that, but I never saw it do any work. Carol's chore is to feed the chickens and gather the eggs. She lets me help, not. They've got yellow stuff on them that I think is shit. I think the eggs come out of the chickens from the same place as the shit. There's one chicken that gets real excited when we open the chicken yard gate. It's bigger than the others. It's sort of mean and bossy. Carol told me to watch out for it because it'll peck out my... I asked her why it would do that, and she said because it's a rooster. I asked why they keep a rooster if it would peck out people's eyes, and she said, are you dumb? If we didn't have a rooster, we wouldn't get any eggs. I said, you mean the rooster makes the hens lay? And she said, of course, stupid. After we took the eggs, I went back to see how the rooster makes the hens lay. I watched for a while, but the rooster didn't do anything, neither did the hens. I decided they were just resting. Maybe they were for a while like people. Then maybe the rooster said, okay, get back to work, and hens climb up onto the nests. And that's what I wanted to see. I went back to the yard after lunch, but nothing happened then either. Sarah lets us go out after dinner, but we're supposed to be back by dark. Carol asked where I was going, and I said where. I suppose she could have told me how the rooster made the hens lay, but I wanted to see for myself. The hens started going into the hen house around sunset, but the rooster didn't do anything to make this happen as far as I could see. Then a little while later, the rooster came over and looked at me through the fence. I was just sitting on the ground, holding onto my knees. The rooster turned his head side to side so he could get one eye on me after the other. Then he shook his wattle at me and told me to go to get the hell out of there. I was really surprised. Except in cartoons, I didn't know there were any animals that could actually talk. I said, "Why? I'm not doing anything." He said, "You're not supposed to hang around here." "Why not? I'm not hurting anything." "Beat it." I just know I just want to know how I just want to know how you make the hen's lay. No business. I just want. Get out of here. Well, you can't make me leave. I could if I wanted to. How? I can't, but I can fly far enough. I can get to the top of the fence, and that's all I'll need. Why? What would you do then? Jump down and peck out my eyes. May not. Why would you want to do that anyway? I'm not hurting you. You're making me nervous. Why? I'm just sitting here. You're watching me, spying on me, trying to find out what I do. I just want to know. You could tell me if you wanted to, couldn't you? I mean, you're the boss here, aren't you? I'm the boss. How do you make the hens get on their nests? I just make them. Do you tell them to do it? No, they can't talk or understand talk. They can't. Why not? How should I know? Well, what then? Do you point at the nests or what? Beat it! Get out of here! I find myself thinking about in the context of computer specialists, IT specialists, businesses, the guru effect. People who covet a body of knowledge that's really not that complicated or little, but make it seem secret and important in order to increase their own power and protect their careers. A story about a computer guy who went through all this rigmarole at an office to make something very easy he was doing with the computer look sort of scary and hard and intimidating to most of the employees, and most of them bought it, but one of them saw through it and confronted him about it, and frightened the IT guy into I forget what happened after, whether he changed his tone or whether it was an easy truce or whether what happened. But yeah, special knowledge. Next day I went back. I had a stick and I sat outside the fence and dug a hole. It wasn't very deep because the ground was hard. After a while, the rooster came over and asked what I was digging a hole. I said, "Why are you doing that?" "I don't know." "Is it a tunnel?" "I guess." "Where does it go?" "Nowhere." "Down." "Will you go down it?" "Maybe." "Why?" "I don't know. Might be fun." "Fun to go down the hole?" "Maybe. If you went down the hole, you could get out of here, I suppose." "Would you like that? To leave here?" "No, I guess. Maybe." Liar. I asked why he said that, but he turned away, and I started walking and started walking around the chicken yard, scratching at the ground and looking under the stairs of the coop and things like that. After a while, he came back. "Why do you cry in your bed?" "Don't." "Liar. You put your head under the pillow." "How do you know that?" "I know everything. I'm God." "You're not God." "I am." "You're not." "Your mother knows I am." "My mother?" "Of course. Why do you think she sent you here?" "Why?" "Stupid. Because she knows you need to be with God." "I don't understand." "You don't need to understand." "Why do you cry in your bed?" Guess I'm homesick. Liar. Because I don't like it here. Liar. Because I think my mom and dad want to kill each other. Okay, now you're not lying. I know it. You think your mom and dad want to kill each other. That's right. Why does that make you cry? Why? Because they want to kill each other. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? That's right. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with wanting. I never heard that. It's sooner or later, everybody's got to go down the hole. What hole? Why, the hole you're digging right here, boy. Remember your grandma? They put her down the hole, didn't they? Not this hole. Oh, you just keep digging, boy. You'll find her. Count on that. But nobody killed her. You really are stupid, you know. Why? Because I killed her. You? Of course, me. Didn't your mother tell you that? No. She didn't tell you that your grandma was with God? Oh, yeah, well, I guess she did, but what? Nothing. But what? You didn't say she didn't say God was a rooster. Did you see your grandma's eyes? Grandma's eyes? No. That's too bad. Why is that bad? Why is that too bad? If you saw her eyes, you wouldn't be arguing with me. Why? You didn't see her eyes? No, I told you I didn't. I know you didn't, boy. You picked them out. You picked out Grandma's eyes? If you're gonna cry, get out of here. No, I told you, if you're going to cry, get out of here. Why? Why what? Why did you do that? Why did you do what? Why did you kill my grandma? None of your business. But I want to know, why did you kill her? None of your damn business. Why? Because. Because why? Because why? Because she made me mad. One night there was a heavy rain and cut a ditch under the chicken yard fence, but no one noticed. So the next night, some animal got in and killed 3 hens. Aunt Sarah thought the barn cat did it, but Uncle Ned said no, that's a good cat. It was a fox or maybe a skunk. A lot of eggs got broken. The hens were all excited, walking round and round with their heads down, clucking. The rooster was acting crazy, charging fence posts, flapping his wings at the hens, pecking around corners as if the animal were still there hiding someplace. When we were alone, he came over to talk to me. It was the cat, the rooster said. The barn cat? The cat that lives with the cows. That's the barn cat. Then it's the barn cat. The barn cat killed the hens? That's right. Uncle Ned thinks it was a fox or a skunk. Well, he wasn't here, was he? Why didn't you stop it? I tried, but the cat was too fast for me. Well, it's all right now. Uncle Ned's going to fix the fence. That doesn't matter. I'm going to kill that cat. You don't have to kill it. It won't be able to get in again. That's nothing to do with it. I'm going to kill it. How can a rooster kill a cat? You'll see. The next morning, I went with Uncle Ned to milk the cows. I looked all over the barn, and he asked what I was doing. I told him I was looking for the cat. He said, leave that cat alone, that pet cat. I found it half under an old piece of machinery in the back. Its eyes were all broken and pulpy, just holes full of blood. Its stomach was ripped open, and its insides were hanging out. After a while, Uncle Ned came over to see what I was looking at. "Good God Almighty," he said. "What the hell done that?" "The rooster did it," I said. "Don't be stupid." Later, I went over to the chicken yard to talk to the rooster. "Well, I did it, didn't I?" he said. "You sure did. How did you do it?" "Caught it while it was asleep. You see its eyes?" "I saw. Were they mashed or not?" "They were mashed." "I pecked them out." "Yes." "Did you see its belly?" "I saw it." "Was it ripped open or not?" "It was ripped open." The rooster walked around and shuffling, ruffling wings, and pecking at the ground as if it just couldn't stand being in one place anymore. Then he came back and said, "You didn't tell anyone what I said, did you?" "What do you mean?" "You didn't tell anyone I killed the cat, did you?" "I told Uncle Ned." "You told Uncle Ned?" "I told him, but he didn't believe me." "You told him?" "Yes, but he didn't believe me." "I can't believe you did that." "He didn't pay any attention, honest." "You shouldn't have told him." "It's all right. He didn't believe me." "You put it in his head." He just said it not to be stupid." "You shouldn't have put it in his head." "All right. He won't even think about it." "I can't believe you did this to me." "It's all right. Honest." The rooster started walking around the yard, all stiff-legged, ruffling his feathers and like he was trying to change into some animal. When he calmed down, he did something I'd never seen him do before. He turned his head on one side to look at the ground, then picked up a little stone with his beak and stood there like he couldn't remember what he was supposed to do with it. He stood there, and finally he thought all about it and opened his beak, and it fell into the dirt. He didn't look at it. He didn't even notice it. Then he came back over to talk to me. "Did you see that cat's eyes?" "Yes." "What were they like?" "They were all pulpy." "Oh, that's just wonderful, beautiful, really. Did you get stuck?" "What was it? Was that insides are falling?" "Oh, good, good," the rooster said. "Fine, really. It was so dark in there I couldn't see it for myself. There are lots of blood." There was blood on the straw. "There are lots?" "Looked like lots. It looked like it soaked right through the straw." "Into the dirt?" "Into the dirt." "Oh, good," that said the rooster. "The blood soaked right through into the dirt. Really, that's wonderful. That's good. Fine. Wonderful good, really. Because now I'm going to kill you." Hmm. Hmm. Stuff really doesn't make its message overt in the way Daniel Quinn's more mainstream books do. It takes some thought and analysis. Definitely ideas of nature and the kinds of gods that are truly of the real world and not the sort of human-made civilized gods that are disconnected from natural reality. Gods, gods that can be gods of nature that can be killed. The gods of a nuclear bomb on a place, as Daniel Quinn said, those gods will die. Hmm. At night I waited in my bed with a knife I took from the kitchen. For a while I had my arms up in the air because I thought I couldn't go to sleep that way, but I did. I woke up after a few minutes and decided I'd better get out of bed. I stood at the window and looked over the barnyard, but after a while, my eyes closed, my knees let go. Then I went down the hall to the bathroom and took my pajamas. I was better. I was wide awake in those pajamas. I decided right to sit on the side of the bed. I wanted to slip off on the floor. I think I cried a little bit. I just wanted to stay there and sleep. I made myself up, sneaked back into the bathroom. I ran the water till it was cold before I took my pajamas again. Putting them on was like pressing ice. Back in the room, I folded up a braided rug into a cushion and knelt on it, facing the door, with my arms straight out from my sides and the kitchen knife in my right hand. I counted to 300, then stood up to give my arms a rest, counting another 300. I knelt again to give my legs a rest. Then I stood again, then again and stood again and knelt again and stood again. Once, while I was kneeling, I didn't make it to 300 and slept for a while until the door opened. It just swung open onto the dark, empty hallway, and I knew the rooster was coming for me. There was nothing I could do about it because I was frozen solid. I could hear the scrape of his claws as he moved across the kitchen floor. He scuffled around at the foot of the stairs for a while, and I couldn't I could tell he didn't like them. Then I heard him beat his wings as he took a jump. He landed with a thump, and it sounded like he fell back a step or two, but that didn't stop him. He threw himself upward again and again and again, and the noise stopped, and I knew he was at the top. I could imagine him walking down the hall, poking his head in at Uncle Ned and Aunt Sarah's bedroom, and then backing out and moving along to Carol's room. I kept my eyes on the corner of the doorway where he'd be coming from, but the harder I tried to see, the darker it got. Soon a light-colored thing snuck around the door jamb and jerked back out of sight before I could get my eyes on it. I couldn't understand why the rooster was acting like that till I remembered he didn't know I was frozen and couldn't move. Then it crept forward again, and it wasn't the rooster at all. It was half of a furry face and one round eye that was fixed on me without blinking. Then the other eye came around the corner, and the creature stood up. It wasn't like anything I'd ever seen. A fur-covered face, big round ears, standing up from his head like the ears of a teddy bear. A black blob like a rubber ball for a nose. There was nothing funny about him, though. He looked very serious, like he was worried about me, but afraid of me at the same time. He had the rooster. He was holding him in a kind of net bag. There was hardly anything to the bag, just a few strands of thread. One of the rooster's legs was hanging out on one side and one of his wings on the other. He'd struggle like crazy for a second and then give up as though he was dead. I knew he wasn't dead, though, for the way he glared at me through the mesh. He started thrashing around again, and I knew it wouldn't be long before he squirmed out. The boy was talking to his parents, who looked just like him except for being taller. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but he finally gave the rooster to his father to hold. As his father took it, one of the strands of the bag broke, and the rooster halfway flopped out, but they didn't notice. The boy started taking off his fur suit, and he was real pale and thin underneath, and began shivering right away because he wasn't used to being without it. When he had it all the way off, he bundled it up and held it out to me, sort of turning his head away as though he couldn't stand looking at me. When they finally saw I was frozen and couldn't come and get the suit, they started getting excited. They wanted to come and help me, but I could tell they were scared at the same time. I couldn't figure out why this should be, since they were giants compared to me. Anyway, they went on and on and on, talking, and I knew I was going to freeze to death pretty soon. But as they talked, they were looking at all around as if they were trying to figure a way out of this mess. And soon they saw that the room I was in was not the room Uncle Ned's at all. It was their own cave, the cave they lived in. So there was nothing to be afraid of. They rushed in and by the fire. Woke up, I was in bed, in fresh pajamas, and under so many blankets I could hardly breathe. Uncle Ned was standing there looking down at me just about the way he looked at the dead cat in the barn. He said, "What the hell were you playing at, boy?" I said, "I don't know." "What do you mean you don't know? You were trying to make yourself sick or something?" "No, sir." "And what were you trying to do?" "I don't know." "Well, I don't have time to worry you because I gotta get to work, but I can tell you much. That other time I'll give you such a licking you won't forget it in a hurry. You hear?" "I hear," I said. You better hear. I hear. Well, you better. A little while later, Aunt Sarah brought some oatmeal and scrambled eggs on a tray. She said as if I didn't have enough to do. I didn't know what to say to that, so I didn't say anything. After breakfast, I slept some more. When I woke up and went downstairs, and Aunt Sarah made me peanut butter and jelly sandwich and told me not to eat anything else or I'd spoil my dinner. She said, if I ever catch you with one of my knives again, I'll give you such a licking you won't forget it in a hurry. I said she wouldn't. I better not, she said. Hmm. Then I went outside into the chicken yard. I worked for a while on the hole, but the rooster didn't pay any attention at all. Hmm. When Aunt Sarah stuck her head out to the back door and called me to dinner, I filled in the hole because I didn't think I'd ever go back there again. But a few weeks later, I did go back after all on the night before I went home to my folks. It was after dinner, and the sun was just setting and some clouds on the horizon. I went up and sat outside the fence, and again the rooster just walked around the yard like I wasn't there. Some of the hens had already gone into the coop, and the rest looked like they were half asleep as they shuffled around, making soft noises like grouk, 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 grouk in their throats. Suddenly, the rooster started beating his wings, and he flew up and landed claws first on the top on one of the hens. The two of them thrashed and battling over and over in a cloud of dust and feathers. They ran away, squawking like the world was coming to an end. Then all of a sudden it was over. The hen was lying on her side with a wing twisted underneath her, and the rooster was right on top of her, looking around as if nothing had happened. Standing on a hen was just the ordinary place to stand. And he stepped down off her, planting a right foot on her face, and strutted away toward the coop. The hen didn't even try to get up. I might have thought she was dead or just a pile of dirty feathers, except for her shiny black eyes. She lay there and stared into my eyes without blinking, without moving, as if she was going to spend the rest of her life there in the dirt, not waiting for anything, not thinking about anything, just staring and staring until everything in her head drained away into mine. Until at last I understood everything there was to understand. Whatever that might happen to be. It was almost dark by the time I got back to the house, but nobody paid any attention to that or even to me. I was surprised. Before that, Sarah would have yelled at me for 10 minutes for staying out so late, but it was like I was just one of the house cats coming home from supper. I thought maybe she didn't see me, but she saw me all right and nodded as if to say, see, that's just what it is. The first star of the night was standing beside the moon, and it was so bright that just that one star seemed enough in the sky. Uncle Ned and Aunt Sarah were sitting together on the porch, glider, listening. Carol was running around trying to fill up her jar with lightning bugs. I went over to see if she'd let me help. She said, you don't want to look at them by day, you know. They're real ugly by day. But they're sure pretty at night, aren't they? So we caught lightning bugs till it was time to go to bed. Hmm. Definitely not very diverse. Hmm. Yeah, the odd way nature behaves, evolution, procreation. I'm gonna reread that scene from the bedroom again. The boy and the bad hen and the parents, and then sometimes I'm only, particularly if I haven't read it before, only kind of half conscious of what I'm reading. It's sort of coming from my subconscious, but yeah, some character transition, and then the way and the boy, the way the parents became the aunt and uncle, and First the aunt was chastising the boy, and then the boy was chastising the aunt. It was interesting. Anyway, that's 3 stories in 40 minutes. Not too long before I got to be at this training for Positive Pie making pizzas. If anybody watches this, hope it's enjoyable. Have a good day.